So greetings CPAs and welcome to ITBU 6200 for week 8. So this week we're going to kind of do a debrief of that HR assignment that you did. You used Flipgrid for part 1 and part 2. And then we'll do a little bit of a debrief for the conflict scenarios. And then we're going to talk about facilities management, and we're going to do a little case study on space. So for HR part 1 and part 2, this is where you used Flipgrid. And for part 1, you recorded yourself answering one question. So thank you to everybody that participated, because without the questions, we can't really be the HR committee and evaluate them and make a decision. So thank you. So typically, a hiring committee will have 3 to 5 candidates that they interview. I asked you to look at everybody's, which was kind of sneaky of me because I presumed you might not get around everybody. So as long as you watch 3 to 5, then you should be able to get the effect from this assignment that I wanted you to get. So I hope you have your screens open, and you can read down here at the bottom. 2 weeks later, what do you remember? Right? Do you remember, can you describe in general? Did anybody stand out? So think about that. Were there stories that really made you relate? And if so, did it kind of tweak one of your biases? So maybe that story appealed to you because somebody talked about a situation you were familiar with, or a situation that you thought was, whoa, that would be devastating. So our stories can really affect the people on the hiring committee. So make sure, like we talked about when we first talked about the STAR format, it's a format, but also remember I told you it's a story. And the elements of a good story are that it has maybe a little bit of humor, some rising action, a climax, something happens, somebody saves the day, that's you, and everything works out in the end, happily ever after. And so I gave you an example about somebody who used an interview story with a raccoon in it. So it's hard to forget one with a raccoon. So try to keep that in mind when you're telling your story. Now, when we debrief as the hiring committee, think about the things that made you choose, right? And as an interview candidate, be sneaky. Right? Think about the biases that some of the people on your committee might have, even though they don't realize them or they don't think it's going to make a difference. You might as well use some of that to help you shine at the interview, right? Because everybody's probably going to be a CPA, recent grad. They're all going to have fairly similar experiences, and they're going to answer the questions fairly similarly. So can you make a story that resonates with somebody on that committee to help you? Okay, so think about that. So that's what I wanted you to think about in that assignment was when you're on an HR committee, be aware of your biases. As a candidate, think about stories that really shine. And if you were on the committee, if we hadn't had a list of criteria that we were going to use to judge people, I wonder if we would have got the same results, right? So be mindful that it's really important to have criteria to make it an objective process. Okay, that's one of the goals. And then we didn't ask everybody to answer the same question. So do you think that was fair, making a decision, right? And I'm just asking you, was it easy to select? So just think about some of those things when we're talking about the goal of a hiring committee to make sure that it's fair, reliable, and valid. All right, I'm going to stop here.